The Vril family huddled together in the dimming light of mining outpost Delta 12. The small station, once home to over 50 miners, now stood empty except for the 5 stranded aliens. Nara, the mother, wrapped her upper limbs around her 3 children while Elder Prell kept watch at the viewport. "Mother, I'm cold," whispered Tika, the youngest. Her small exoskeleton hadn't fully hardened yet, making her more sensitive to the station's failing temperature controls. "I know, little one. Try to stay close," Nara said, her voice calm despite her rising worry. She clicked her mandibles softly, a sound meant to comfort her children. The mining outpost floated in space near an unstable sun. The company that built it had abandoned it years ago when the asteroid's minerals ran out. No one was supposed to be here now. No one would think to look here. 3 days ago, their ship had failed as they passed through this system. Something in the engines broke down completely. They barely managed to reach this empty station before life support gave out. Elder Prell believed someone had sabotaged their ship, someone who knew what they carried. "Another ship approaches," announced Elder Prell, his aged eyes still sharp enough to spot the distant lights. "Perhaps these ones will help." Nara didn't share his hope. 3 ships had already come close enough to hear their distress calls. 3 ships had refused to help. The first visitors were Bluvians, tall blue-skinned traders. They spoke politely, over the communication system. "We sympathize with your situation, but Council Regulation 772 forbids interference with political refugees. We would face heavy fines." The second ship contained Oris diplomats with their floating translation spheres. "The natural balance must be maintained. Your family's situation, while unfortunate, is part of evolutionary selection." The third ship didn't even open communications. The sleek black vessel of the Jury Defense Force simply scanned the station, then turned away. Now this 4th ship grew larger in the viewport. Nara recognized its shape from educational programs. A human vessel, boxy and practical. Humans were newcomers to galactic society, barely accepted by the older species. "They won't help either," said Milo, Nara's middle child. "No one will help Vrils. We're not important enough." The communication panel lit up with an incoming message. A face appeared on screen, a human with short dark hair and kind eyes. "Outpost Delta 12, this is Captain Jiho Park of the Earth vessel Pioneer. We've received your distress call. How can we assist?" Elder Prell moved quickly to the panel. "We are the Vril family. Our ship suffered critical failure. We need rescue before the solar flare reaches this position." The human frowned. "Solar flare? This sun will emit a massive radiation burst in approximately 30 days, explained Elder Prell. "This station's shields cannot withstand it." The human captain nodded seriously. "We understand. We'll dock and assess how to help you." Nara felt a surge of hope, but experience made her cautious. Other ships came. They all refused. "Why would they refuse?" asked Captain Jiho, looking genuinely confused. "Council treaties, non-interference policies, natural selection." Nara listed the excuses they'd heard. The human's expression hardened slightly. "Well, we don't always agree with council policies. Sit tight. We're coming aboard." The children stirred with excitement, their antennae twitching. 1 hour later, the airlock opened. 5 humans entered the station wearing simple protective suits. They moved cautiously, clearly never having met Vrils before. Captain Jiho approached first, removing his helmet. The other humans followed his example. "I'm Jiho. This is Medical Officer Yoon, Science Officer Hana, Security Chief Tae, and Engineer Day." Nara introduced her family, watching the humans carefully. Most species found Vrils unsettling with their insectoid features. These humans showed curiosity, not disgust. Officer Yoon noticed Tika's trembling. "Your child appears ill. May I examine her? The young one's metamorphosis cycle is disrupted by stress and cold," explained Elder Prell. Yoon nodded. "I'll see what I can do to help." As the humans spread through the station, checking systems and offering water and emergency rations, Nara felt something she hadn't felt in weeks: hope. The station's communication system suddenly activated. A stern voice filled the room. "Human vessel pioneer, this is Galactic Council enforcement. You are ordered to withdraw immediately. These refugees are under interdiction." Captain Ji-ho looked at the frightened Vril family, then at the message screen. His decision seemed to come easily. "No," he said simply. "We don't abandon families in need, especially not children." The council representative's voice grew angry. "This violation will have serious consequences for Earth." "So be it," Ji-ho replied, turning away from the screen to Nara. "Now let's figure out how to get your family safely off this station before that solar flare arrives." The Pioneer's crew worked quickly on the old mining station. Captain Ji-ho watched as Engineer Dae examined the station's failing systems. Medical Officer Yoon had set up a small treatment area for the Vril family, focusing especially on young Tika. "What can you tell me about these aliens?" Ji-ho asked Science Officer Hana quietly, standing away from the Vril family. "Not much. In our database," Hana replied, checking her handheld scanner. "The Vril are from the Outer Rim territories, insectoid species with complex social structures. They're known as historians and record keepers. Generally peaceful." Ji-ho nodded, watching the Vril mother Nara hover protectively near her children. Her exoskeleton shifted colors subtly as she moved, changing from blue to purple and back again. "Their color changes with their emotions," explained Hana. "Blue seems to indicate worry. Green is calm. I'm still learning the other colors." Yoon approached with a concerned expression. "Captain, the youngest child is very ill. She's undergoing some kind of metamorphosis, but the process is stuck. Without proper nutrients and warmth, she may not survive it." Ji-ho frowned. "Can you help her?" "I'm trying, but Vril biology is very different from ours." "I need more information." Elder Prell had been listening nearby. The old Vril stepped forward, his movements slow but precise. "I can provide information about our biological processes. I was a medical keeper before retirement." Yoon smiled gratefully. "That would be extremely helpful." On the bridge of the Pioneer, Communications Officer Sun reported troubling news. "Captain, we've received 16 messages from various council species. They're all warning us not to help the Vril family." Security Chief Tae stood with his arms crossed. "This doesn't make sense. Why would so many advanced species refuse to help a stranded family with children?" "Maybe the Vrils are criminals," suggested Sun. "Even criminals deserve basic aid," Ji-ho said firmly. "And I'm not abandoning children regardless of what their parents might have done." The communication screen suddenly activated. A large alien, with shimmering blue scales and multiple eyes, appeared. Ji-ho recognized the species as Makari, one of the founding members of the Galactic Council. "Human vessel pioneer," the Makari said, voice dripping with condescension. "I am High Ambassador Drool. You are violating 3 separate treaties by interfering with these refugees." Ji-ho straightened his uniform. "Ambassador, we're providing humanitarian aid to a stranded family. The station they're on will be destroyed by a solar flare in less than 30 days. Their fate is sealed by council decree," said Ambassador Drool. "The Vril family carries dangerous knowledge that threatens galactic stability. They must not be allowed to spread their seditious information." "What information could be so dangerous that it justifies letting children die?" Ji-ho asked, keeping his voice steady despite his rising anger. "That is council business," snapped the ambassador. "Humans are still probationary members. You would do well to follow established species lead in this matter." "With respect, Ambassador, we follow our own moral compass, and it tells us that abandoning children to die is wrong." The Makari's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. "Humans, always emotional, always primitive. Your species will face sanctions for this interference." "Better sanctions than sacrificing our humanity," Ji-ho replied firmly. After the transmission ended, Tae approached Ji-ho. "Captain, we should consider the consequences. Earth can't afford trade sanctions right now." I understand the risk, Jiho said. Anyone who wants to leave can take our shuttle back to the nearest Earth outpost. I won't order you to risk your careers. Nobody moved. Meanwhile, in the makeshift medical area, Elder Prell was explaining vril biology to Officer Yoon. Our young undergo 3 metamorphoses before reaching adult form, he said, pointing to specific parts of Tika's body. This is her second change. Her internal organs are transforming, but the process requires specific enzymes. Yoon nodded. And she's lacking these enzymes? Yes. Normally, they would be provided in special foods from our homeworld. Without them, the metamorphosis stalls, causing pain and eventually death. Yoon thought for a moment. I think we might be able to synthesize something similar using compounds from our medical supplies. Officer Hana can help with the biochemistry. Nearby, Engineer Day was speaking with Nara about their ship. The damage is extensive, Day explained. Someone deliberately sabotaged your engine core. Nara's color shifted to a deep crimson. We suspected as much. We were fleeing because Elder Prell discovered something dangerous. What did he discover? Nara hesitated, then spoke quietly. Evidence that Council President Oro has been illegally altering his genetic structure to extend his lifespan and maintain power. The records prove he's violated the term limits set in the founding treaties. Day whistled softly. That would certainly cause problems for powerful people. Which is why they want us silenced, said Nara. Why they're willing to let my children die. As evening approached on the human ship's time cycle, the crew gathered to share a meal with the Vril family. Cultural barriers slowly melted as they ate together. The Vril children were fascinated by human customs while the humans learned about Vril history. As they finished eating, the station rocked suddenly. Warning lights flashed. What was that? Asked Jiho, jumping to his feet. Officer, Sun checked the station's sensors. Captain, the solar flare, it's coming sooner than predicted. We have less time than we thought. Engineer Day worked with quick, precise movements. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he connected wires inside the Vril ship's engine compartment. Elder Prell handed him tools, their 8 limbs between them moving in careful coordination. How bad is it? Asked Elder Prell, antenna twitching nervously. Day wiped his brow. Very bad. Someone knew exactly what they were doing. They cut these main power couplings in a way that looked like normal wear. He pointed to several severed connections. This wasn't an accident. We suspected as much, Elder Prell said, his carapace darkening to a deep blue. Our family has been targeted because of what we know. About President Oro? Day asked, testing a circuit with his tools. Elder Prell's antenna stiffened in surprise. Nara told you? She mentioned it. Sounds like serious business. Day connected 2 more wires and a panel lit up with weak light. Small progress. President Oro has ruled the council for over 200 years, explained Elder Prell. The founding treaties limit presidents to 50 years. But Oro claims to be a genetic exception, a natural long-lived variant of his species. But he's not. No. I discovered records showing he's been using forbidden genetic manipulation. The evidence is stored in special memory crystals embedded in our family's ceremonial staffs. Day looked at Elder Prell with newfound respect. So that's why they want your family eliminated. They're erasing evidence. On the other side of the station, Medical Officer Yoon and Science Officer Hana worked frantically to help young Tika. The small Vril's carapace had turned an alarming pale gray. She lay still on a medical bed, breathing rapidly. Her temperature keeps dropping, said Yoon, checking his instruments. The metamorphosis enzyme is breaking down faster than her body can replace it. Hana studied diagrams provided by Elder Prell. Based on the molecular structure, I think we can synthesize a similar compound using modified human growth hormones. Will it work? Asked Nara, hovering nearby. Her other 2 children watched from across the room, their antenna drooping with worry. Honestly, I don't know, admitted Yoon. Nothing like this exists in our medical database. We're improvising. Hana adjusted settings on a small portable synthesizer. The closest match would be our thyroid-stimulating hormone, but modified with compounds from your food supplies. It's our best option. In the command center, Captain Jiho received another message from Earth Command. Admiral Kim's stern face appeared on screen. "Captain Park, you are ordered to withdraw immediately," said the Admiral. "The Galactic Council has threatened trade sanctions against all human colonies if you continue to assist the Vril refugees." Jiho stood straight. "With respect, Admiral, we cannot abandon them. The youngest child is critically ill, and the UN solar flare is approaching faster than predicted. We need more time, not less." "This isn't a request, Captain, it's an order." "I understand, sir." Jiho's voice remained steady. "But I respectfully decline. The consequences of this decision are mine alone. I've given my crew the option to leave, and none of us took it," added Security Chief Tay, stepping into view beside his captain. Admiral Kim's expression softened slightly. "You realize this could end your careers?" "Some things are more important than careers, sir," replied Jiho after the transmission ended. Officer Sun approached with new data. "Captain, I've been analyzing the solar activity. The flare is accelerating. We now have less than 20 days, not 30. Can we speed up repairs on the Vril ship? Day says minimum 6 more days for basic life support. Engines might take longer." Jiho paced the small command center. "What about our ship? Could it carry all of us?" "Yes, but we'd be violating direct orders," Tay reminded him. "I'm already doing that," Jiho said with a grim smile. Back in the medical area, Yoon prepared a syringe filled with shimmering blue liquid. "This is our best attempt at the enzyme. We don't know the proper dosage, so we'll start small." Nara stroked Tika's head gently. "Do what you must, human doctor. I trust you." Yoon carefully injected the solution into what Elder Prell had identified as the main circulatory node. Everyone watched anxiously as the minutes passed. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Tika's carapace began changing color, from sickly gray to a faint purple, then gradually to a stronger blue. "It's working," breathed Hana. "Her vital signs are stabilizing." The station suddenly shook violently. Warning alarms blared. "Radiation spike," called Officer Sun over the communication system. "The solar activity is intensifying." Jiho rushed to the engineering section where Day and Elder Prell worked on the Vril ship. "How close are we?" asked Jiho urgently. Day emerged from an access panel, face streaked with grease. "Life support is at 40%. Engines still non-functional." "We need to think of alternatives," said Jiho. "The flare is coming faster than predicted." The station rocked again. Lights flickered ominously. Elder Prell's antennae quivered. "Captain, you've done more than any other species would. Perhaps you should save yourselves while you can." "That's not how we do things," Jiho replied firmly. The communication panel activated again. This time it wasn't Admiral Kim or the Council. Instead, the screen showed a diverse group of aliens from various species. "Captain Park," said a Makari who wasn't Ambassador Drool, "we've been monitoring your communications. Many of us disagree with the Council's position. We want to help." Hope sparked in Jiho's eyes. "Who are you?" "Friends," replied the Makari. "Individuals who believe compassion matters more than politics. We're coming to you. Hold on just a little longer." The mining station shuddered as another wave of radiation hit. Red warning lights flashed throughout the corridors. The ancient structure wasn't designed to withstand such powerful solar activity. "Structural integrity down to 60%, reported Officer Sun, her fingers moving rapidly over the control panel. "The flare is intensifying much faster than predicted." Captain Jiho looked at the sensor readings with growing concern. What had been forecast as a 30-day countdown had compressed to less than 15 hours. The promised help from sympathetic aliens hadn't arrived yet. "Day, what's our status with the ships?" Jiho asked through his communicator. "Bad news, Captain," replied the engineer. "The Vril ship is nowhere near ready, and our own ship just took damage to the propulsion system. We're all stuck here until repairs can be made." Jiho turned to Security Chief Tay. "Options?" Tay pointed to a schematic of the station. "This central processing room has the thickest walls. If we redirect All remaining power to the shields around this section. We might survive the worst of the flare. Might? 20% chance by my calculation, Tay admitted grimly. In the medical section, young Tika had improved slightly with Yoon's synthetic enzyme, but still remained weak. Her siblings, Milo and Corin, stayed close by, their antennae touching. Hers in a vril gesture of support. Another treatment ready? Announced Hana, carefully filling a syringe with blue liquid. Nara watched anxiously as Yoon administered the dose. What happens when the worst of the radiation hits? We've prepared a shielded area, Yoon explained, trying to sound more confident than he felt. We'll move everyone there soon. The station rocked violently again. Ceiling panels crashed down in one corner. That wasn't radiation, said Tay, checking sensors. Something docked with us. Upper airlock. Jiho and Tay rushed to the airlock, weapons ready. When the door opened, they were surprised to see a Makari standing there. Unlike Ambassador Drool, this Makari wore simple clothing without official insignia. I am Ven, the Makari said quickly. We spoke earlier. There's no time to explain fully. The flare is accelerating beyond all predictions. We brought shield generators and medical supplies. Behind Ven, 4 other aliens of different species carried equipment into the station. Why are you helping us? Asked Jiho, still suspicious. Because your actions shamed us, Ven replied simply. Many of us watched as you defied not just your own government but the entire council to help this family. It reminded us of principles we'd forgotten. The new arrivals quickly set up additional shield generators around the central room. Ven's medical specialist, a tall, slender alien with 6 fingers on each hand, brought specialized medications for Tika. This will help stabilize the metamorphosis, the medic explained to Yoon. As they worked, more warnings sounded. Officer Sun's voice came over the communication system. Captain, the main flare is approaching. We have minutes, not hours. Everyone, to the central room now, ordered Jiho. They moved quickly, helping the Vril family into the reinforced area. Day and 2 of Ven's engineers connected the shield generators in a circular pattern. This configuration should maximize protection, explained one of the aliens. As the last person entered, the station lights failed completely. Emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow over everyone's faces. Shields at maximum, reported Day, finishing the final connection. Outside, through a small viewport, they could see the space around them turning orange as the radiation wave approached. The temperature in the room began to rise despite the shields. Will this be enough? Nara asked, holding her children close. We've done everything possible, replied Jiho, standing resolutely beside her. The station began to creak and groan as metals expanded in the increasing heat. Shield generators hummed louder as they strained against the radiation. First shield failing, announced Day, checking instruments. Ven stepped forward. I brought this for emergency use. The Makari revealed a small, glowing cube. It's a quantum shield generator. Experimental technology not yet approved by the council. Is it safe? Asked Jiho. Safer than certain death, Ven replied, activating the device. The cube floated to the center of the room and expanded, creating a shimmering bubble around them all. The temperature immediately began to drop inside the bubble. It's working, exclaimed Hana. Through the viewport, they watched as parts of the station outside their protected area began to glow and warp from the intense radiation. The main flare would hit any moment. Sensors detect multiple ships entering the system, reported Sun suddenly. At least 12 vessels of various origins. More help? Asked Tay hopefully. No, said Ven, looking troubled. Those are council enforcement ships. They've come to ensure no one survives to reveal President Oro's secret. The Vril children, huddled closer to their mother. Elder Prel stepped forward, his aged carapace now a determined green. We cannot allow the truth to die with us, he said, producing a small crystal from a hidden pocket in his exoskeleton. This contains all the evidence, all the records. He handed it to Jiho. If we don't survive, please ensure this reaches someone who will use it justly. The room fell silent as the main wave of the solar flare hit the station. Metal screamed as sections began to tear away. The quantum shield flickered but held. Multiple ships attempting communication, said Sun suddenly. Ignore the council ships, ordered Jiho. No, these are different signals, explained Sun. They're identifying themselves as independent citizens from all over the galaxy. Jiho and Ven exchanged surprised looks. On screen, said Jiho. Thebe, emergency display flickered to life, showing dozens of faces from various species. We stand with the humans, announced the first alien. We will not allow this injustice. The solar flare's fury began to subside after 6 hours of intense radiation. Inside the protected room, the humans, Vril family and their unexpected allies waited anxiously as the station groaned around them. Parts of the outpost had been completely destroyed, but the central section remained intact thanks to Ven's quantum shield generator. Shield strength at 20% and falling, reported Engineer Day, monitoring the flickering device. It won't last much longer. Captain Jiho watched the scanner showing numerous ships surrounding the mining outpost. What are all these vessels doing? Why haven't the council enforcement ships attacked? They can't, explained Ven, the Makari, who had defied his government to help them. The independent ships have formed a protective barrier around us. The council cannot fire without risking interspecies conflict. The communication panel lit up as a message came through. The face of a stern Oris diplomat appeared on screen, one of the species that had earlier refused to help the Vril family. This is Chief Mediator Lorne of the Oris Diplomatic Corps, the alien announced. We request permission to dock and provide evacuation assistance. Jiho looked suspicious. Why the change of heart? The Oris diplomat's face showed what might have been shame. Your broadcast reached millions across the galaxy. Citizens from every council world have been protesting our inaction. Many of us reconsidered our priorities. More messages flooded in from other ships, all offering help, supplies, or evacuation. The tide had turned. Do we trust them? Asked Security Chief Tay. We don't have much choice, said Jiho, looking at the failing shield generator. Our position isn't sustainable. Young Tika, still weak but improving, moved closer to her mother. Are we safe now? She asked in a small voice. Nara stroked her child's antenna gently. I believe we are, little one. Over the next few hours, a coordinated rescue effort took shape. 3 ships docked with the remaining sections of the station. Teams of engineers from various species helped stabilize the critical systems, while medical personnel attended to the injured. The council enforcement ships withdrew after receiving urgent recall orders from their governments. Public pressure had forced a dramatic policy reversal. Elder Prell stood with Jiho watching the activity. This is unprecedented in modern galactic history, the old Vril observed. Species that have followed council dictates without question for centuries are now thinking for themselves. Sometimes people just need to see someone else do the right thing first, replied Jiho. As they prepared to leave the damaged station, Nara approached Captain Jiho with all 3 of her children. My family owes you our lives, she said, her carapace shifting to a warm gold color of gratitude. How can we ever repay such a debt? Jiho smiled gently. There is no debt. We simply did what any decent people would do. But other species didn't, Milo, the middle child, pointed out. They're learning, said Jiho. Sometimes the galaxy needs a reminder about what really matters. A tall, dignified alien stepped forward from the group of helpers. Jiho recognized the species as Jury, the same as the ship that had scanned the station and left without offering aid days earlier. Captain Park, the Jury said formally. I am Commander Zal. My government wishes to offer your crew and the Vril family safe passage to the Interstellar Conference on Rigel 7. The council president has been called to answer questions about certain allegations. Elder Prell touched the pocket where he kept his backup copy of the evidence. Will justice actually be served? For the first time in centuries, the council will face true accountability, Zal promised. Your evidence, combined with the moral example set by these humans, has created a movement for change. 3 days later, aboard a comfortable transport ship heading to Rigel 7, Tika played with several alien children in a recreation area. Her metamorphosis had stabilized thanks to the combined medical knowledge of multiple species. Her carapace now shimmered with healthy blue and green patterns. Nara and Jiho watched from nearby. She seems fully recovered, Jiho observed. Yes, and not just physically, said Nara. This experience could have taught my children to fear other species. Instead, they've learned about courage, compassion, and cooperation. Through the viewport, they could see their escort, ships from 12 different species flying in protective formation around them. Many were private vessels piloted by ordinary citizens who had volunteered. What will your family do after the conference? Asked Jiho. We've received asylum offers from 17 worlds, Nara said, her antenna twitching with amazement. Including Earth. You'd be welcome on our planet, said Jiho sincerely. I think we would like that, Nara replied. My children are eager to learn more about humans. You were called primitive by the Council, yet you showed wisdom that ancient species had forgotten. As they approached the Rigel system, news reports flashed across communication channels. President Oro had resigned rather than face inquiry. The Council was being reorganized. New policies on refugee assistance were being drafted, all because one human crew refused to leave an alien family to die. Perhaps, said Nara, watching the stars streak past. This is the beginning of a better galaxy for us all.